Have you ever noticed your dog staring directly into your eyes for no reason at all? Not barking, not asking for food, just staring. It might look like a random moment, but scientists discovered something shocking about this behavior. When your dog locks eyes with you, both of your brains start releasing the same chemical that bonds parents to their babies. And the strangest part? Wolves, the ancestors of dogs, almost never do this. So how did dogs evolve a behavior that can literally hack the human bonding system? Most people assume the dog wants something: food, a walk, attention. But scientists now believe something far more interesting is happening. The moment your dog holds your gaze, something incredible begins inside both of your brains. And here's the strange part most people never notice. Dogs don't do this with everyone. Many dogs reserve this kind of eye contact with the humans they trust the most, which means when your dog does it with you, it may not be random at all. According to recent research, this brief moment of eye contact may activate one of the most powerful bonding systems in the human brain. In other words, your dog might not just be looking at you, they might be bonding with you in one of the most powerful ways nature has ever created. But thousands of years ago, this exact behavior would have been dangerous because wolves rarely stare directly into another animal's eyes without meaning something very different. So, what changed? To understand that quiet moment when your dog stares at you, we have to go deep into neuroscience, evolution, and one powerful chemical that may have reshaped the relationship between humans and dogs forever. For a long time, scientists believed dogs avoided direct eye contact with humans. In the wild, prolonged staring between animals often signals dominance or threat. Among wolves, a hard stare can escalate conflict. So for decades, researchers assumed dogs learned to avoid it. But then, something unexpected happened. A group of scientists in Japan decided to test something surprisingly simple. Dogs and their owners were placed together in a room and allowed to interact naturally. The researchers measured how long the dogs gazed at their owners, and then measured hormone levels in both the humans and the dogs. What they discovered surprised even the researchers. But the most surprising discovery didn't appear until the researchers ran a second experiment, and the result made scientists rethink how deeply dogs are connected to humans. After prolonged eye contact, oxytocin levels increased in both the dog and the human. Oxytocin is often called the bonding hormone. It's the same chemical released when mothers look into the eyes of their newborn babies. It appears during moments of trust, affection, and emotional connection. And in this study, the longer the dog gazed into their owner's eyes, the more oxytocin increased in both of them. But this discovery created a huge mystery for scientists. If wolves see staring as a threat, why do dogs do the exact opposite with humans? So the researchers tried something unusual. They repeated the same experiment, but with wolves that had been raised by humans. If eye contact created bonding in all canines, the wolves should react the same way. But they didn't. The wolves almost never held eye contact, and their oxytocin levels barely changed. To answer why, we have to look inside the brain itself. Because when a dog looks at you, a very specific neurological loop may begin. And once it starts, both your brains respond to each other in a powerful cycle. Inside the brain, bonding isn't just a feeling, it's chemical. When your dog gazes into your eyes, visual signals travel through the retina and into the brain's limbic system, the region responsible for emotion and social behavior. From there, several things begin to happen. The brain releases oxytocin, heart rate may subtly change, stress hormones like cortisol can begin to decrease, And most importantly, the brain starts interpreting the interaction as safe social connection. Now here's where the loop begins. Oxytocin doesn't just create bonding feelings, it also encourages more eye contact. So when your dog looks at you and oxytocin rises in your brain, you may instinctively soften your gaze, smile, or speak gently. Your dog reads those signals. Their brain releases even more oxytocin, which makes them look at you longer, which raises your oxytocin even more. This creates what scientists sometimes describe as a biological feedback loop. Eye contact, oxytocin, more eye contact, more oxytocin. But here's something even stranger scientists discovered. Dogs actually evolved special facial muscles, almost as if to speak directly to our emotions. Muscles that wolves barely use, which means dogs may have physically evolved to trigger emotional responses in humans. So the real question becomes, how did dogs evolve the ability to tap directly into the human bonding system? To answer that, we have to travel back thousands of years, back to the time when wolves first began approaching human camps. Long before cities, long before farms, humans and wolves lived in the same landscapes, but they were not allies. At least, not at first. Many scientists believe the earliest dogs emerged when certain wolves began scavenging near human settlements. These wolves were different, less aggressive, more tolerant of human presence. Imagine one of those early wolves sitting just outside a human campfire, watching, learning, waiting. The ones that stayed calm survived. The ones that understood humans thrived. And slowly, generation after generation, those wolves became something entirely new. Over time, natural selection favored wolves that were calmer, more social, and better at reading humans. Research has shown that dogs are unusually skilled at reading human gaze and pointing gestures. In some cases, dogs perform better than even chimpanzees at understanding human social cues. Why? Because their survival began depending on cooperation with humans, and cooperation requires communication. Eye contact became one of the simplest and most powerful signals. A glance could mean attention. A look could signal trust. And over thousands of years, dogs that bonded emotionally with humans were more likely to be cared for, protected, and fed. In other words, dogs that triggered the human bonding system had an evolutionary advantage. So when your dog stares into your eyes today, you're witnessing the product of thousands of years of coevolution. Two completely different species, slowly learning how to understand each other. But there's one final piece of the puzzle. Because once you understand what this gaze really means, your response to it might change forever. The next time your dog sits quietly and looks into your eyes, pause for a moment. Instead of assuming they want something, consider what might actually be happening. Their brain may be seeking connection, not food, not commands, just the quiet reassurance of social bonding. In fact, some researchers believe dogs may experience something very close to what humans feel during bonding. Not just loyalty, not just training, but genuine emotional attachment. You can strengthen that moment in simple ways: soft eye contact, a calm voice, gentle touch. Behavior experts often recommend avoiding hard, prolonged staring, especially with unfamiliar dogs, because it can still feel threatening. But with your own dog, relaxed mutual gaze can be part of a healthy relationship. In fact, some trainers believe brief moments of calm eye contact help reinforce trust and emotional security. What matters most is the tone of the interaction. Soft eyes, relaxed body language, a sense of calm. Because to your dog, that moment might not just be attention. It might be the biological signal that tells them,
I'm safe. I belong here. I'm part of this family. And in a world where survival once depended on understanding humans, that signal means everything.
And there's one more detail that makes this even more incredible. Your dog may not even realize they're doing this. The bonding response happens automatically inside the brain, which means when your dog looks at you like that, it might be pure instinct. So the next time you catch your dog staring at you across the room, remember, this isn't just curiosity, and it isn't just a request for treats. It may be one of the oldest conversations between our two species, a silent exchange of trust, a chemical bond built into our brains, forged over thousands of years living side by side with dogs, a moment where two completely different species connect in a way nature almost never allows. And it all begins with a simple look. So now we're curious, does your dog stare into your eyes like this too? And if they do, how long can they hold the gaze before looking away? Try it tonight, then come back and tell us what happened in the comments. We read every story.